1990. A representative from Game Freak Inc. pitches a concept to head members of Nintendo staff of a video game designed from his fondness of catching insects as a child. Nintendo agrees to help fund the project, and the starting ideas that will eventually become the multi-million-dollar Pokemon brand are officially born. But in '96, releasing only to a Japanese audience and struggling with brand identity, Pokemon had arrived much later than the intended plan. Along with the delay, sales were still tracking decently under Nintendo's intended estimates for the games. A hard 6 months after release, a section in the popular Japanese magazine Kuro Kuro would spark the interest of children. With a narrative of searching for hidden Pokemon only available due to a glitch, Pokemon Red and Green skyrocketed to 1 million copies sold. Almost immediately after the sudden success, Nintendo started the talks of an anime series and an international debut. On the back end, creating mock-ups that had the potential to become fully realized Pokemon was hard enough, let alone actually fleshing them out and implementing those designs into a real video game. The development cycles of video games are consistently clouded with a veil of secrecy to the public, sometimes even 20+ years after a game has been released. Needless to say, disclosing private information is often met with legal action throughout the video game industry, and Nintendo falls right in line with this thinking, no matter how much of a die-hard fan is on the other side. 4 generations of Pokemon later, Kuro Kuro, the same magazine responsible for Pokemon's initial success in '96, published multiple designs of supposed new Pokemon from the upcoming games Black and White. While Kuro Kuro have become somewhat of a hub for leaks related to the upcoming Pokemon titles, they are able to avoid all legal action by only posting images after they become public information. As for what were apparently the Black and White starters, they looked legit and had fans talking. Although the public was unaware, Nintendo was eager to find the source and were prepared to stop further ones, as these leaks were real. In September 2010, 2 days after the leaks were posted online, a 27-year-old Japanese man was arrested for leaking the 6 pictures of unreleased Pokemon captured from his mobile phone. Although no official comment was ever given from either party, it was widely speculated he was a part of the testing processes for the games. After being arrested by the police, he would face no real jail time, presumably a pretty fat fee, but not much information was posted after he was brought to court, and it is thought they most likely just settled outside. But what if I were to tell you that there was one person who is dedicated to do almost anything? That there is someone out there who is almost solely the reason that you or I have ever seen a beta or cut Pokemon? But what if I were to tell you that what's been released might have just been 1/10 of the Pokemon found, and that this person is also responsible for the recent massive leaks of Nintendo games? This is the story of Spaceworld 97, UK's Department of Education, and a person named Zamis Clark. 2008. An account with a Blaziken avatar is created on Glitch City Laboratories, an online forum and wiki made to post about Pokemon glitches and specifically beta content. The username was Wacko with a 0, and their first comment was on a post about altering the game's data to create glitched, almost missing no versions of Pokemon. The original poster had realized that altering certain Pokemon's code did different things to a subgroup of the original 151, causing them to become invalid but possibly somehow readable Pokemon. Wacko had commented on the thread, "Has anyone tested Mew/Mewtwo?" To which they were met with an astounding response of, "Why don't you?" Whether it was X-Parasite9's fault or not, Wacko would quickly learn how to perform tasks similar to the one they were somewhat rudely instructed to do. Fast forward a couple years, on the GCL forums, our dog Wacko had been busy taking that whole invalid Pokemon thing to the 10th degree. By 2015, with the site still set on finding more information, Wacko had done digging through all generations of Pokemon to that point, and nearly on launch was doing research into the new 7th generation. With the common belief and bit of a pipe dream that this error was due to cut Pokemon that never fully made it into the games, Wacko and a group of experienced modders had been trying their asses off to turn that missing no into a real Peekaboo. Okay, bear with me for a sec, we're going off course. Meet Imperio Education Pro. I know, not Pokemon. Imperio Education Pro is basically a program for schools to monitor what's happening on their computers. When you type a naughty word into Google during 7th grade computer lab, this program is fully designed to narc on you, and in 2014, it was in more than 25% of the secondary schools in the UK. I don't know what a secondary school is, but it turns out the program designed to keep kids safe was quite literally doing the opposite. In 2015, a security researcher who was only 20 years old, Zamis Clark, accused Imperio Education Education Pro of wrongdoing in the most hacker guy way possible. Posted to haveibeenpwned.com, the UK-based employee of Malwarebytes found a flaw that would allow someone to obtain all of the data in a school system with barely any real security. Stating that it was possible to access the names of children, ages, and even addresses, a hacker could leave a school, quote, completely pwned. Being forced to comment via pressure from UK publications, Imperial Education Pro wouldn't exactly own up to the accusations, stating that the security researcher was enabling people to do destructive things with their product. Going on to soft threaten legal action against the labeled hacker, they were clearly passing the blame onto Clark and claimed it was almost impossible to use their products in such a way. To which everyone went, no. Dude, no. A similar accomplished security engineer called Imperial's comments bizarre and showed an utter disregard for customers. Negative PR was starting to stack up from all directions. Imperial would seriously tuck their tails between their legs when UK's Department of Education would go, hey, stop it. To which the program would completely revamp their system after a noticeable drop in schools using the program. But this security researcher wasn't done pwning companies yet. 4 months after posting the information related to UK middle schools, Zamis Clark was at it again with the same pretty questionable approach. Posting yet again to haveibeenpwned.com, Clark basically gave you the step-by-step process of how to hack VTech's database, a multi-million-dollar Chinese toy distributor. Essentially being accused of the same practice to Imperio, right before Black Friday, VTech's preparation for the holiday was in troubled waters. Clark posted of how he was able to access the information to about 4.8 million children through the back end of one of VTech's phone apps for children. This data included names, birthdays, but this time even included parents' billing information for a good portion of them. But unlike Imperio, it wasn't just going to be a hard scolding from some dude in a suit. VTech was fined $650,000 from the Federal Trade Commission. On top of the decent fine, they were directed to regularly update their data security program under the threat of constant audits from the FTC for the next 20 years. Clark was gaining notoriety for his data breaching, although he had not done it through the best of practices. People interested in his story were reading his blogs posted on the Malwarebytes resources page, a company he was still employed by throughout the controversies. In terms of the general hacking community, Clark was becoming someone who was consistently praised by his peers for his clear intentions of trying to protect children online. Although his methods were brash, he was young, now 21 years old, and seemingly only using his powers for good. Dun dun dun! Okay, back to Pokemon. In May of 2018, images of Pokemon never before seen were posted to 4chan. These pictures, if real, were unlike anything previously seen in unused and cut Pokemon content, blew those old black and white starters out of the water, and let's just say the nerds at Glitch City Labs were having a field day. The photos were apparently taken from the Pokemon Gold and Silver Spaceworld 97 demo, named after the popular trade show hosted by Nintendo in the 90s. Like the name suggests, in 97, Game Freak displayed an extremely early version of the sequels, as the titles wouldn't hit stores until a good 2 years after. At the trade show itself, little was shown besides an early look at the starting town of Gold and Silver, but the demo had much more inside the code than what was shown to the public. Someone, somehow, had gotten their hands on the demo in 2018 and had posted the screenshots of the secrets tucked away inside. With only Chikorita looking familiar, the other 2 starters found in the final game are absent and replaced with 2 lines of almost completely foreign Pokemon. Furthermore, so many designs in this game are completely changed, cut, or might sort of be the inspiration for future generations, but the entire Pokédex looks nothing like the final one. Quite literally, these were secrets that probably would have been taken to the grave and never revealed, if not posted to the toxic landmine of a domain that is 4chan. But while some questioned the origin, most were just having fun looking at Beta Baby Wooper, Fat Pichu, or whatever weird, never finalized Pokemon you had just fallen in love with. Fans everywhere were having a blast, and Glitch City Labs and other similar forums were digging and compiling everything that was new and different. With the demo being completely in Japanese, a team of fans from GCL was formed who had access to the ROM to translate the project. Calling themselves Team Spaceworld, what do you know, Wacko was present on that team. The 2 worlds Zamis Clark was a part of were about to fully collide in the worst way. Whether immediately or not, Wacko would admit to everyone in the group of his wrongdoing and that he is the reason they have this ROM. Going on to share a huge portion of what he had with certain members, Team Spaceworld quickly learned that Wacko had found much more than just this demo. By the following month, Clark would go silent at both Glitch City Labs and his contributions to the Spaceworld team. It would be quite some time before the magnitude of what he found was realized to the public, but everything would come ahead to Wacko very soon. Not disclosed until March 2019, Zamis Clark, the security mastermind and supposed hacker for good, not only hacked into Nintendo's internal servers and was arrested in June, but was also arrested in July of the previous year for infiltrating Microsoft's internal servers. The information stolen from Microsoft mostly consisted of pre-beta versions of Windows and other pre-release products, but honestly, it's not known the extent of what he saw. In total, Clark had access to about 43,000 stolen files and had done almost 8,000 searches in Microsoft's database for similar unreleased builds. Being brought down by the FBI and the National Cybercrime Unit, Zamis Clark was being pressed with life-altering charges from hacking Microsoft. They had estimated roughly $2 million in damages due to the amount of accounts Clark had breached, and yet somehow, throughout all this, at the time in 2017, Wacko was still steady posting on Glitch City Labs, because somehow, Clark, after being bailed out on charges from the FBI, was on normal probation, which meant he had zero restrictions on his internet use. So you're facing $2 million in charges and the next 10 years of your life are probably over. You just spent the last 10 years posting on internet forums about unreleased Pokemon. You're 23, a master hacker, and just made bail. What do? Hack Nintendo, baby. Not even 6 months after being arrested by the FBI, Zamis Clark got access into Nintendo's private game development servers. 2 months after, the Spaceworld 97 demo is anonymously uploaded. 1 month after that, Red and Green's never-before-seen original sprites are posted. Clark was able to remain unnoticed by Nintendo for about 3 months, founding an insane amount of unreleased versions of games, most of which are just coming to light now. Zamis Clark, aka Wacko, aka ____, aka Rayleigh, or whatever other username he was using at the time, had accumulated $2 million in damages from Microsoft, and now around $1.8 million from Nintendo, and things weren't looking so hot. Wacko, now having all the answers to the invalid Pokemon questions he was asking for a decade, was facing a minimum 17 years in prison. But then we found out something that had nothing to do with Beta Leafeon or Windows 96 or toys for toddlers. Zamis Clark is diagnosed with autism and prosopagnosia, commonly referred to as facial blindness. People who suffer from this have a problem recognizing others, with facial features often altering and changing mid-sentence, sometimes struggling to immediately recognize family or even your own face. People with the disorder often use tricks to remember people, like hair color or clothing, but it is common for people diagnosed to stay inside because of the overwhelming and disconnected feeling the disorder brings upon. In a letter written to the judge of the case, Clark's parents wrote a statement describing their son's problems as well as their plans for a possible rehabilitation. His mother fully detailed her son's issues and his struggles with his day-to-day life, writing about the heartbreak she felt for allowing the second attack on Nintendo to happen and how she wasn't present to be there for her son and prevent it. Now quitting her full-time job, her plan was to be with her son every step of the way in rehabilitation. The judge of the case would sentence Zamis Clark to an extremely light 15 months on house arrest and 2 years of probation, with trust in his mother's plans for the future. A crime prevention order was placed for 5 years, so if Clark was to do anything, he'd immediately go to jail, facing an intense penalty. Judge Moline said a main reason for his decision was due to the unique circumstance of the case, stating, "This is a young man who would suffer disproportionately if he went to prison. The heartbreak, and I can only see it as heartbreak for his parents, comes across loud and clear. They are to be commended." As of the writing of this script, a massive leak of Nintendo beta games, mostly from the 64's catalog, were released to the public, and it is heavily assumed to be part of the heap that Clark found. This leak was pretty massive in terms of how much the files contained, and countless data miners everywhere are rejoicing to be able to display new secrets to the public, but these leaks aren't beneficial for everyone. On July 12, 2020, Glitch City Laboratories, the main resource for this video and the home of so many dedicated Pokemon fans for 16 years, announced they'd be archiving the website because of new source code again being leaked on their forums. In a post detailing the decision, a head admin wrote about the risks of continuing to be a home for tainted data, and rather to accept this fact, they put an end to the forums. Still remaining archived, just unable to post or create new accounts, the hope is for a new, similar community to be born off of GCL's legacy. As of we're aware, no account linked to Samus Clark has posted since being arrested a second time. It is hopeful and probable to assume that Clark's mother and her plans for rehabilitation are working, as no information or police records have come out since the judge's ruling. As for this story itself, there admittedly were a couple other side characters involved not mentioned in this video, but we chose to keep Samus Clark at the forefront whenever possible, mostly for him being the only one ever officially convicted. It's possible that this recent file dump of Nintendo games truly was the full extent as to what Clark found in March of 2018, but we won't really know until we know. Regardless, if similar things do appear in the future, we'll probably know who was initially responsible for them, and we can hopefully just be aware that these beta versions of our childhood games comes at a real cost for some, because that fat Pichu did come from dirty hands.